Rifle is a firearm.
Wow.
That has the ability to penetrate armored vehicles or walls on houses or whatever.
Was it here in El Paso that it was bought?
Yes. It was purchased here in El Paso.
Back in Mexico, the despair caused by the violence seems never ending. Fernando Cegueda is still looking for his missing son. With other families of the disappeared, he's staging a protest outside Tijuana's most notorious crime scene. The man known as the stew maker confessed to dissolving corpses here, but the authorities told families there's no trace of their loved ones.
We went to that place and we didn't find nothing. We really found some kind of indicios, quiero decir en español. I would like to say this word in English. Indicios is an elements. We didn't find no one.
Evidence?
Evidence. We don't find evidence. Yeah.
We were told a gelatinous substance was found here, but that it was so acidic that any DNA evidence was destroyed. Fernando doesn't believe it.
Que sí existen y que están en ese lugar. Entonces hay que venir a escarbar ahí y eso a lo mejor lo vamos a hacer nosotros. Como le digo, quizás vamos a terminar en la cárcel, pero esta puerta la vamos a tirar y vamos a meternos allá que hay esquina y con picos y palas vamos a hacer el trabajo que la autoridad federal debió haber hecho hace mucho tiempo.
Está aquí para guiar el Espíritu de Dios está aquí.
We have to put in context also that these people who disappear are people who participate with criminals. It's not common people. The people who are representing them, their sons or families, are collaborating with criminals.
Mexico's dead and missing are tainted by suspicions of being linked to the drug world.
Do you think it's possible?
Sometimes I was thinking, when at that moment, say, okay, maybe. And I start talking with everybody. Tell me the truth, please. Maybe he wasn't something wrong. I say, no. Even the bad boys, the real ones, wasn't, stealing cars or selling drugs, they told us. He's a good boy. We don't know why.
Who actually do you see as victims? If you're saying that you think a lot of those who've been disappeared were involved in organized crime, do you not see them therefore as victims?
No, claro que no, pero...
No, of course I do. But we have to deal with the resources we have in Mexico. We have to be realistic about the possibilities available in the country. We have declared a war that has never been declared before.
But victory in the Mexican government's war appears ever more elusive. Despite the heavy deployment of forces in Ciudad Juárez, murders have shot up tenfold since Chapo Guzman decided to try and conquer the city. For ordinary Mexicans, the human cost of the drug war is intolerable. This is one victim whose innocence surely no one can dispute. Josiel Ramirez lived and went to school across the border in Texas. He'd come to Juarez for the day to see his father. He was deliberately shot in the head as he crawled out of his father's car, ambushed by gunmen. Josiel Ramirez was 7 years old.
It's sickening to be watching out for your children, afraid they might get hurt because of the evil you have done. You don't want it to happen to them. It's very hard.
This man had reason to fear. A former hitman for the Juarez cartel, he agreed to talk about the drug war if we hid his identity. Shortly after I met him, he too was executed. His final words to me were about the roots of the violence and the only way he believed it would end.
El Chapo quiere ese puente para pasar por ahí. Chapo wants that bridge over there. He wants the bridge to send goods up to the gringos. That's the fight, in case you don't know. As long as the gringos keep asking for marijuana, because that's what they use the most, deaths will continue here. Mexico is doomed. If today there are 20 dead, tomorrow there will be even more, until that bridge has one sole owner.
If you're in the shoes of an average Mexican citizen and you see that the government has huge levels of corruption, that the police have been infiltrated, that when you report a crime, you become not the victim, but you become the persecuted. And on top of that, you see a failed strategy that is being implemented. Very likely, first of all, you will start saying, let's negotiate with organized crime groups. Let's just negotiate with this guy so the violence stops.
As violence rages along the border, Chapo Guzman remains at large, thought to be somewhere in his Sinaloa stronghold. His contempt for the authorities remains brazen. The press has reported sightings of Chapo eating at local restaurants. And at 54 years of age, he recently got married to an 18-year-old beauty queen from the Sinaloa mountains.
Newspapers reported Chapo got married to this girl with a big party in broad daylight, and that the party was allegedly watched over by the Mexican army. I received information from people close to some of the guests, who said that several governors were there too.
If that wasn't enough, the respected American business magazine Forbes estimated Chapo's fortune at $1 billion. And recently rated him the 41st most powerful man in the world. The Mexican president isn't even on the list.
La corrupción es el principal problema en México. Corruption is Mexico's main problem. Until corruption is uprooted, there will be no end to poverty, impunity, kidnappings, and a number of problems my country suffers from. The best example of corruption is Chapo Guzman.
Economic support system, security support system, and political support system. Without those three, someone like Chapo Guzman cannot grow to the level that he has grown.
Journalists told us, ordinary people told us, they believe that politicians are protecting Chapo Guzman. How do you convince them that they're wrong?
Let me tell you, there is no precedent in the history of this country to what this government has done so far. This government has fought against all the drug cartels, including Chapo Guzman's cartel. Many people have died. Police officers have died in this battle against Chapo Guzman.
After weeks of witnessing Mexico's drug wars, I began seeing this country as a place haunted by ghosts. The stories of missing victims and elusive criminals often stem from a common source: Mexico's long history of impunity. I convinced the authorities to let me visit the site where Santiago Mesa, the stew maker, confessed to disposing of his victims. It was the only chance Fernando and Sandra would have to be allowed in.
Con permiso.
The authorities insist no identifiable human remains were ever found here. But Fernando and Sandra aren't prepared to give up on their son.
Yeah. This is Sosa Caustica. Maybe my son is here. Fernando, it's possible to stay here. Stay there,
or there. I don't know.
I need to know what happened with him and try continually. I really need it. I need to know what happened with my son. God gave me my son, but I don't know why he took him from me.
Soon it'll be 3 years since a young Mexican man was abducted. This may be as close as his parents will ever get to finding him. In Ciudad Juárez, it's the eve of the graduation ceremony for over 1,000 new police cadets, brought in to replace their corrupt predecessors.
Sí, mire. O acá. No, hijo, ten cuidado. Dámela, bebé.
A single mother of 3, Blanca is about to take on a huge responsibility on behalf of her family, her city, her country.
Dame un besito ya, dale. Ya. ¿Sí? Está bien. ¿Sale?
A partir de este día, cuando comiencen sus patrullajes, tengan siempre en cuenta que fueron preparados para representar a la ley, para ganar la lucha contra el mal y vencer cualquier tentación que los desvíe de su camino. Les espera una tarea difícil. Muchas gracias por su amor por Juárez. Felicidades a toda la nueva policía.
The mayor of Juárez has been waiting 2 years for this day. His hopes for the city and his personal legacy rest on these young men and women.
Porte ese uniforme con mucho orgullo, ¿eh? Hágalo por el bien de Juárez. Muchas felicidades.
Gracias.
¡Salud! ¡Ya! ¡Por flanco derecho! ¡Ya!
Día de mañana, 6:30 horas.
Muy bien, gracias.
¿Cómo te sientas?
En el desfile.
Y más porque mi hermano está conmigo.
Hola, soy Katia. Hola.
El resto del personal a las
Hola.
7
Espero
de la
que
mañana.
vemos a tu familia antes de irnos otra vez.
Ok, su casa es mi casa. Ahí los espero.
Gracias, gracias. Otra vez una enhorabuena.
Gracias. Gracias.
Gracias. You know, today at the ceremony, watching not just the new policemen, but their families, mothers, fathers, and their children. It's the first time since we've been traveling in Mexico that you feel a sense of hope, or at least of wanting to hope. You know, that these guys really can bring peace to the streets of Juárez. That's what they're promising to do. And at the same time, hoping very, very, very much that with the little amount of training that people like Blanca have had, that they're not going to be lambs going to slaughter.